You can't unsee what you see.
Just happy hour. Okay, we just day drank.
So when we talk about you gambling and having an issue,
This is what we're talking about. Do not buy another JVA warranty until you've looked at the Caddie Workmanship Guarantee program.
We're kicking ass and taking names, apparently.
Caddie Shack.
all right, we're here.
Welcome back. Another episode.
Yeah. Oh, I guess let's
Just us two today.
just us.
Yeah, that's all right.
Dawn's out in the field.
She's
out
bopping around.
She is.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's talk about the week first. How about God, well, I feel like this is a busy week. These weeks are like flying by where they're all just connected and there's no days off. It's been wild.
Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, man.
Kind of feels like today's Wednesday.
I don't know what day it is. And my kids have spring break next week.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what that's going to look like, but
Yeah, you're going down
Yes.
to Austin, right?
going to Austin later this afternoon for a couple days. Wouldn't it be wild? We rented a house on a compound. So there's like, I don't know, maybe 4 smaller houses and a party house. And
On a compound sounds dangerous.
I know, you're right. But
It's not in Waco, right?
Yeah,
No,
it's near Dripping Springs. I think the kids will love it. It's got like a pool, shared pool, little pickleball court thing. It should be pretty fun. So
that's awesome.
it'll be nice to get away, but leaving anything going on, especially the projects with the restaurants for a couple days is.
Oh yeah, you're hot and heavy into the old restaurant. It's looking good.
Thanks.
We will be shooting live
Yeah.
from Mexican Oak.
Mexican Oak.
Well, it depends on when you get back, and then I go on spring break the week after. But at some point, we will be shooting live from Mexican Oak.
Yeah, we will sync our schedules. It's hard to do, but there's a lot of progress. Man, we're trying to open that thing basically in 100 days from the time that we signed the lease, which was now 2 weeks ago.
I'll never forget. We were in the hotel room before the waste management.
Yeah.
He goes, "Should I do this?" I was like, "I think you have to."
Yeah.
It's too late now.
Yeah, after I was almost mauled by wild pigs and all that stuff. It was crazy. But yeah, we did that. Lease went effective. Yeah, I guess it was the Saturday of Phoenix Open. And so since then it has been wild. So I guess we'll go more into it next week while we're there and kind of what's happening.
Yeah, we're going to go
2 weeks.
full-blown restaurant episode next week. I think it'll be fun.
But it's been crazy, kind of like everything. I will share because hopefully there's business owners watching this. It's crazy. It's got everything in it. I had to organize the financing for it, identify what had long lead time, some of those projects, and knock out things like TABC applications and ordering things that took 2 months to build, like booths and stuff like that. So it's been a lot, and we've been busy. The construction looks phenomenal. The place is really coming together. I'm super impressed with our contractor that's been running this, and yeah, wow, lot of moving parts. But I'm excited to get there and shoot from there and show everyone kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. This location for sure had the good bones, right?
Great
It was
bones.
already set up pretty well, whereas the barrel, it was a complete gut job.
Good Lord,
so to speak, or whatever
we
call
basically converted like a office into a restaurant at the barrel. So it was it was wild. I mean, I remember the floor being dug up to put in all the plumbing, and there's mounds of dirt everywhere. Did
the wall on the kitchen at the barrel, did we move it?
We did.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Because
I can't remember the kitchen space, but I remember
it wasn't wide. Remember, so like the kitchen wall at the barrel, we had to move it out like almost 10 feet to be able to provide an actual kitchen that was big enough to.
I can't remember what the kitchen looked like. I just remember the bar for the wine restaurant that was there before was like way over in the middle of the space. And you're like, okay, this entire drain and piping and everything has to go away, and that was a mess.
Well, that concept grew pretty quickly. It was going to just be a wine and whiskey bar, and then, man, it really evolved into a full-blown restaurant. I'm glad it did. I'm proud of what we're putting out there, but what a project. This one is, and we'll spend more time on it, when we shoot out there. But this one is nerve-wracking. It's definitely in a more prominent spot. It's on the square in Denton. There's gonna be a lot more eyes on it, so the pressure's a little higher. But But it's come along. I'm proud of it. So we'll see.
A little higher rent, a little more risk,
a lot more
reward if it works out.
If it works, please come support us.
Get some tortillas and queso.
Please.
Everybody likes tortillas, queso, and margaritas. If not, then I don't know why you live in Texas.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, excited about that. Yep. That'll be next week. Hopefully we'll schedule a date and get up there.
And we've had some crazy stuff. So that's been ongoing. We're running between the two of us roughly 10 businesses right now, which sound insane. We're pretty active in most of them. I would say, it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of investors that will invest in various companies, and we will too. We found, with the exception of your Apptronic investment, which is going
just an investment there.
That's going well.
Wow, wild, yeah,
crazy.
That's a great one. Yeah,
real fast. Can you just kind of like high level what that is and what's going on? Because I tell people about it all the time, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, I don't even know if I'll do it justice. That's a great. We should have Chambers on at some point. But came through Brian Chambers.
Capital
over at Capital Factory, and Brian helped us quite a bit when we were doing fixed and raising capital and introducing us to different folks. And at the time, we had not really done that. We had not done it at all before.
Yeah.
So it was completely new to us. So he was our caddy during how to raise funds and whatnot. So shout out Brian. But yeah, he'll send us stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. And this is one that just kind of sparks my interest because I know robotics is a big deal. So it's humanoid robotics. It's called Apptronic. And they just got a deal done with, I believe, Google DeepMind, which is going to be, a partner / investor, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, so it's pretty interesting. Right now they're working with Mercedes-Benz and some other commercial companies. Their humanoid robotics are particularly right now in the commercial space, so in industry. So working in factories, doing that sort of stuff. It's not like what you see with Elon, where it's like, hey, everybody will have a robot in their house doing laundry for $200 a month someday. Like, it's not necessarily that. So, but it's very interesting and it's fun to follow. I'm just a very small investor in it, but you get to see stuff that goes on with it as a part of that. So that's fun. But that's been an interesting one. Yeah, I've invested in that. And then, I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year after they raised another round recently. And so the investment is already done well, quadrupled or more, whatever it was. Right. Yeah. So those are fun.
Yeah.
Hands off for sure compared to what the other ones are doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of podcasts. I don't know about the folks watching this. Obviously we're doing a podcast now, but been very wrapped up in podcasts as the source of where I'm getting a lot of my news and a lot of kind of what's going on, trying to avoid getting so much biased, which is really, really hard to do right now with stuff, but more trying to like listen to industry experts, give their opinion on what's going on or explain just black and white, this is what's going on. And so one of the things that I've been kind of interested in, I guess more interested in, is this like activist investor stuff. So been watching some stuff with Bill Ackman and those guys. And it's interesting because I think it relates to us quite a bit where, our philosophy is that we are very active in these businesses. Yeah. So we're making investments in them and we're helping guide those businesses. People ask me all the time, and I'm sure you get it, where it's like, how do you keep your head on straight? There's so many things going on.
Yeah, Susie asked me last night.
Yeah.
We got a lot going on, even with just she helps out a lot on the Casa Home side and some of the accounting stuff that we do. She's like, I don't know how you manage all these different things. I was like, you just got to be really good at compartmentalizing.
Yeah, it's amazing. You can, between hour to hour, you kind of have to take one hat off, put one hat on, and shift your focus. But the real reason that I think we have success with these, whether it's the restaurants or Home Supply or Caddie or you name them, there's a bunch. What's working is that we have good people. And so what I've noticed, you kind of, when you're in our role, you're kind of popping between, each organization to figure out what they need and how you can support them to go after whatever they're going after. And that's the fun about being an activist investor in these things, is that you really can have an impact on the outcome versus kind of sitting back. And passive investing is awesome, and there's a place for it, just like with the Apptronic thing.
Yeah.
But you and I, we spend our time being very active in our investments. So those that are looking at raising capital and going down that route, know that there's very different types of profiles of people, and not all are for everyone. So, with us, we're very active, and so some of the things that the spaces we play in that we're very interested in between Evan and I, we pretty much do almost all of our deals together. You're in the golf world. I'm not. You're in the
Get you in there at some point.
Yeah, we'll just add a couple hours to the day. But we're very aligned in that. And what's interesting, and I would encourage people, I always work with partners on stuff, specifically you most of the time, because you got to find someone that's a great like yin to your yang, or like that's complementary. And we are very different people, same philosophies, but different skill sets. And it's been nice to see how these things kind of go together. So anyway, anyone that's like interested in seeing what an activist investor is, I encourage you to go look at kind of what Bill Ackman has been doing. He's not for everyone, he's disruptive in a lot of sense. But I'm very impressed with what he's done, and it seemed like to resonate that, it's kind of what we do as well on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of he used to watch I can't remember the name of the show, but it was the Marcus Lemonis had that show. Yeah. And he was very big on, investing in these companies and then buying the companies or whatever it was. It was part of the show that, they also worked with his other companies, right? Like I remember the episode where he bought a clothing, they print on shirts and embroidery and all that sort of stuff, right? And that's because he's got a bunch of other businesses that need it, right? And then he bought like an LED light sign company, and it was like, well, it's because all of his businesses need signs, and so it's kind of interesting. Same thing is like we try to do things that somewhat complement each other, although there's also stuff that we just have passion about or whatever it is. But all of them typically involve some sort of time throughout the week, which is good, but it keeps you busy, and you just got to be able to, you got to be able to divide it out. But for sure, I even when we sold Fixed, I tell people this all the time, is like, if you're watching this and you want to have, people are like, what's one piece of advice or whatever? I'm always like, you got to find a good partner, because like, during Fixed days, it's like someone had to run the transaction and someone had to run the business. And if you had to do both, I'm not sure you would do either of them well. No. Like, I don't know what the business would do, because I feels like if someone came in to try to buy your company, obviously running the transaction is going to take priority. So then you're going to lose sight of your business. So it's always good to have, a couple of people involved that can always help you out, and or you can bounce ideas off of that. That's kind of the beauty, I think, about what we do, is that there's always either a different idea or multiple ideas on, how you can do something versus just, if it's just you, which sometimes it is on certain things that we do or whatever. It's like, well, I'll pull the trigger. I sure wish I had someone to bounce that off of. But I'm just going to go ahead and do it and see how it goes.
And there's a lot of people in that environment where they're doing it themselves, and kudos to them. I personally just don't operate that way. It's almost like the partner in business is also your like emotional support dog. You're like, you know what I mean? We both do this, where it's like, God, either today I don't have it, or today there's this challenge that I'm dealing with, or that we are dealing with, or a company's dealing with, and you just get different opinion and different mindsets, and it's really powerful. And that's kind of where I'm going with this, is that it comes down to good partners and good people, and our role is to support those people. And we've had exciting stuff happen over the last week. We've hired a couple folks across different organizations. We are
interviewing for more. Getting ready to pull the trigger on a couple more.
Yeah, we're now, between our organizations, we've exceeded 100 employees, which is pretty powerful, and we will exceed over 150 by May 1st with the restaurant. So, I mean, we're back to that machine where we're trying to create a whole bunch of jobs for people and give them a great place to work, and we have a huge responsibility to it. And so we've been building out teams. We've got, not going to disclose the person, but we've got someone that worked with us previously that was a rock star that we've brought on board with some of the air conditioning businesses. We're starting to build out our back office stuff with, HR support, and we're looking at some accounting support. So it's really, really exciting. And we've made some of these hires, and we're just excited to see the growth continue and get structured for, something that's really big to support all these initiatives long term, and kind of help us with some of our time management. So it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, they're definitely. And I think one of the things, as we talk about, entrepreneurship, and if you're a business owner, and how you run your business and treat employees and do that sort of stuff, it's also important to think that at some point down the road, you might, you never burn a bridge, right? Like I think my mom always said that to me, don't ever burn a bridge or whatever. But, you think about some of the people that are coming to work for us now, very familiar faces that used to work with us at Fixed. And it's because, one, they're great people. And two, I think I would say that I think they like us. That's obviously they're coming back to work for us for a reason. That most of them already had existing jobs. So it's not like they were like looking for something. It was like, we're able to go, grab people back. And I would say that's a compliment to tooting our own horn here, but say it's a compliment to how we kind of run things and treat people. So I think that's an important thing to think about if you're running your own business or you're looking at running your own business, no matter how big or small it is. Just know that at someday, make sure you get the right people on the bus, as our boy Nick Saban said. And, treat them right, because at some point you might hire them again. You never know. I mean, you're going to come cross paths or
And if you're not going to hire them, maybe they're entrepreneurial as well, and you want to get behind one of their efforts. And so you're right. It always comes full circle, and we're in the business of providing a great place for people to, spend a career or develop to certain points and move on. And hopefully we're involved with them in some capacity there. But it's been cool. This week has been fun to see some of all of our old folks come back and join us. And I'm super optimistic about where all this continues to go. So let's jump into some of the stuff that has gone on in the world around us and how it ties to our industries and our business. And I think today we'll pretty much be pretty focused on air conditioning. That's where, outside of the restaurants, we spend the majority of our time was with these companies.
Yeah. Well, and the biggest piece of news, I think, this last week was tariffs. Costs.
I think there's 1,000 things that have gone on. I mean, it's still
a new bill, but
the last time we sat here, excuse me, we were talking about like how we're watching the news every day and something news popping up, and is continuing. It's every day. There's a left turn or a right turn or something, some new news, and you're right. Tariffs seem to be a huge,
it's a big
thing.
one.
Well, and we've seen it, right? We've already seen so some of the stuff has gone into effect. Others have gone into effect and then had a little bit of a walk back or some stuff to it. But in the air conditioning industry specifically, and I'm sure that other industries that are importing product from China or Mexico or Canada or wherever it be are seeing the impacts because it's moving so quickly.
Oh yeah.
And so we recently were passed along price increases.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, our goal here is to be transparent with people and kind of share so that the market and people and our peers understand, what we're seeing. And I'm curious how they're dealing with it and kind of talking through how we're dealing with it. So some of our manufacturer partners bring in a lot of product from Mexico, Canada, and China.
Yep.
A large percentage of equipment from China.
Yep.
So obviously with the tariffs going into place, we were pushed a very quick price increase. I wouldn't say that it's material, but I would say that it's something to be aware of. I think that historically when price increases have been put in place from manufacturers or wherever, a lot of times those go to market with a much larger percentage markup. Yeah.
So and it feels like, but it feels like we've almost gotten 2 price increases because you got the 454 refrigerant, which came with a price increase. Yep. The changeover there.
And I think we saw roughly a 12%, if you look at it overall, on our business, it was roughly a 12% price increase across blended products. But,
it took it up somewhere. It's kind of on average.
Yep.
And then another 3 or whatever it was.
3%. I want to make sure everyone understands that. Like, it's a 3% price increase right now, why they figure it out.
Yeah.
It's not a 50% price increase, and it's not a 30% price increase yet. It's a 3%. So when you see the impact to the end user, which there is, our stuff going up right now.
Yeah.
That's what we're hit with is a 3% price increase. What you won't see from our business is our price increase is being passed along to the public of 20%.
Yeah.
So,
we just kind of are keeping our margins as is.
Yep.
Not necessarily taking it as an opportunity to increase those, which I think some probably could or would, right? And then just kind of, we just have to maintain the margin level that we've set that we think we can run a healthy business off of. So we kind of have to increase alongside of that, but we're not going up 10 saying, oh, we got a 10% price increase. Yeah.
So tariffs have been wild. I mean, it's amazing to me how fast they're trying to implement some of this stuff. I think a lot of people agree with it. A lot of people disagree with it. I don't really have an opinion on it yet because I think it's too early to figure out what's going on. And I don't have the foresight to say, hey, a year from now, 2 years from now, these actions will, impact whatever. Like those are jobs for incredibly educated economists to figure out.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Yeah. It's got to be tough because, I mean, I'm with you. I don't necessarily have an opinion one way or the other. Obviously, I would like for there to be no tariff price increases, but you know, there's always a reason why, right? And so, you know, you've got to kind of look, I think, at like, why are they doing it? And I think I see a lot of stuff right now where it's like, hey, we're making a lot of moves fast and then backtracking or whatever that is. And I think, you know, I saw something today where it's like, they shouldn't be running our country like a business or whatever. And that I do somewhat disagree with, because I'm thinking to myself, well, no, it is a business. Like, you have, all of us are the customers paying our tax dollars, and then we expect that those tax dollars go to good use. And so it's like, you know, if tariffs and tax dollars and savings and the whole Doge thing or whatever, if at some point it levels out, I do agree with, like, moving quick and making fast decisions can be sometimes somewhat,
it's disruptive, but it's good.
Yeah, disruptive. But sometimes that is what you need in order to kind of get things to level out. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't, you know. Yeah. Again, I don't have an opinion. I think, like you said, it's very early to see it one way or the other. But yeah, it's definitely different.
It's a wild time that we live in. And I do feel bad for those that are, you know, their jobs are impacted and things like that. But, you know, be optimistic for those folks that have had, you know, career changes as a result of this. And look at stuff like the trades. Here's my sales pitch. We're always hiring. So if you're looking But yeah, no, it is
go get your license.
Yeah, it is going to be wild. You know, I do have, you know, some deep thoughts onto what's going on there. I don't think that it's relevant to this podcast, but it'll be interesting to see, you know, kind of the long-term implications of this stuff for sure. But yeah, so tariffs are going to place. So I think consumers out there are going to see, you know, some contractors that are passing along reasonable, you know, markups and things like that are in line with kind of what they've been passed along to. And then you're going to see others that are really taking advantage of a situation, which we've seen play over and over. To your point on 454, on refrigerant cutovers before, from R22 to 410A, there was huge price increases passed to the market. COVID was a huge thing where when inventory and supply were low, I mean, people were basically able to charge whatever they wanted. And so there's been a lot of stuff go on in our space where pricing continues to just go up. And as a result, I was just talking with an old executive from Trane this morning, and maybe not executive, but a high up manager at Trane, and we were talking through, you know, kind of what we're seeing in the market now, and I was looking it up to see like how Trane Technologies is reporting, and it looks like revenue is up, you know, kind of Q1 over Q1 24. But what I can't see yet, so I don't want to like misquote information, is how much of that is due to price increases versus units shipped. And I would like to get my hands on the data, or have someone on here that's pretty intelligent come speak with us about, you know, are unit shipments up? Because that's an ultimate indicator of like where the market's going. Because oftentimes passing along price increases to drive revenue isn't completely indicative of what's going on in the industry.
Yeah. You know? Sometimes a price increase can inflate those numbers. Yeah. So we know there's a lot of equipment coming in. Yeah. We'll get into that at some point. Yeah. We've seen, sure. And we'll share that site and everything that you can kind of go look and see the different shipments and stuff. It's pretty interesting. But
I mean, we could share a quick stat that I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
We have really been interested in following what's coming out of China to see how it impacts the, you know, kind of the market. That's where the starting point of this was. Yeah. And what we have seen is that there's a particular region in China that does they are a manufacturing machine, just a powerhouse. Mm-hmm. And what we have come up with is that there's roughly 75 to 80% of the global air conditioning, so even the manufacturers that we're seeing every day, coming out of China. Yeah. And to your point, we started tracking like these container loads. How much are these manufacturers buying? And we have some software that we subscribe to that shows us that. Yeah, I was mind blown. It's like 90,000 pounds of air conditioning equipment.
One of the BOLs was like 90,000 pounds.
It's like those are coming across like every other week.
Yeah, and we thought, you know, and you can kind of see if it's like parts or if it's equipment or whatever. They have to classify it, and so you can kind of see. And for this particular manufacturer, we assumed that it was a lot of the stuff was being made here in the U.S. and stuff, and so when we looked at it, when we saw a container, or the containers, and that one BOL was 90,000 pounds, we're like, okay, well, that's got to be equipment. Nobody's ordering 90,000 pounds of capacitors, compressors, right. Motors.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Well, and it challenges us to think, like, we keep hearing cheap Chinese stuff, but the reality of it is appearing, and we've got more research to do, but it's appearing that the large majority of air conditioning equipment that's being manufactured is coming straight from China. So these tariffs from China will absolutely impact the air conditioning industry.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much is assembled here versus manufactured here. And now it makes me, because I've got that curious mind, I want to go back to these plants now and see what is being assembled here versus manufactured here and what that process looks like, and just get more educated, because what it appears in a lot of these scenarios is that these air conditioners are coming over fully ready to go from China and being distributed through these OEM networks.
Yeah. Well, and you see the stuff on TV or in the debates or whatever from a political standpoint where they say we got to bring manufacturing back, or we got to do that. And I think a lot of us brush that off. We've got iPhones made in China. A lot of stuff is made overseas. And I think a lot of us, and I'm guilty of it, where you kind of brush it off and don't think much about it until you get into a scenario where we've got a price increase from the tariffs, and then we start diving in and we're looking, okay, so how much is actually going to impact us? Yeah. And you're seeing all of the orders and all the shipments coming from overseas, and you're thinking,
wow,
it is going to hit us, right?
Hard.
And we're just looking at air conditioning. Yeah. We're not talking about everybody else's industries. Like they can figure out for themselves on their industry. Yeah. We're kind of dealing with air conditioning right now and trying to figure that out. And it's a lot. So it's going to get hit. The industry is going to take a hit. So, there's different things as far as like what we've talked about that contractors can do, or homeowners need to be aware of. If you're a homeowner watching this or contractor watching this, there's different things you got to think about and strategies to implement that can potentially offset those expenses that go up.
Absolutely. And that's what Caddie is here to do. So that's one of our companies. And Caddie's whole goal is to be the partner on the back end that does the research, that gets educated, that understands what's going on at sometimes at a macro level, but like goes and researches other options for people and contractors, so that at the end of the day, the consumer can get a good value and a contracting company can run a profitable business. And that's what we're all about. So that's why we're going down some of these rabbit holes to figure out, what tools, what equipment, all that stuff, where it's coming from. Are there better ways of purchasing and all that stuff? So that'll be a future episode for us, but we are wildly into that as a Caddie partner to these people to figure out how we can provide a better solution to folks. And we're just getting educated, and we want to share that education that we're getting with the world. So
once we get our facts straight, we have them somewhat straight, but once we get more facts, we'll have a full-blown episode on the old equipment and shipment and all that. Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue, because the things that we're seeing out there, we ultimately always take the position that we want to have the end consumer of whatever product it is that we're providing or service we're providing to get the best value. It's super important to us to have that, and so some of the things that we're seeing out there recently are tying back to that conversation with the train guy, or that they're saying that units are down right now. So year over year, the units are not flying out like they did of Q1. And I think Q1 last year was relatively slow, but it showed growth year over year, but they are slowing. And so one of the reasons that I believe that they are slowing goes back into our whole model with HVAC Home Supply, which is I think that people that are contractors that are in this world where they're used to charging these astronomical amounts are finally seeing impact to their sales, because I think some of these other companies that are being more transparent, like what Home Supply is doing, are benefiting from that. And so we had a scenario actually just yesterday where I was out promoting another service company on my Facebook page, and I think that we should, because if there's a deal to be had and someone's providing a good solution to contractors, then they should take advantage of it, especially if it's at a price point or something that we can't compete at, which is going to happen. It happens everywhere. Yeah. I will tell you that I suspected that there would be a little bit more to that than what there is.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to give an example to consumers here. And if contractors are listening, please pay attention to this, because this is, in my opinion, not how a contracting company necessarily should run.
Yeah.
So
this is not how we would advise you from a Caddie standpoint to run your business. If you want long-term success and growth. And
So in this particular scenario, a local contracting company was running a special, which I totally understand. We can talk through real quick, but where they would come out and do a spring tune-up, which I personally am not a fan of spring tune-ups or fall tune-ups or tune-ups in general for air conditioning. It's just my opinion on it, whether it's right or wrong. I don't love them. I think that we believe that homeowners should be empowered to take care of a lot of their stuff themselves, should they elect to. Yeah. And we're trying to help educate folks on kind of what is a contractor activity versus what is a homeowner type activity, because I think people are intimidated by it. Yeah. Personally, I think if you keep your condenser coils cleaned once a year, which we can talk about, and you change your filters, your air conditioning system will be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
We have videos and a whole series coming out about things like capacitor changeouts and maintenance and stuff like that I think will help consumers. But we did this at Fix. We ran maintenance contracts. We had a ton of maintenance contracts. From a contractor standpoint, they're a great thing for your business. I think private equity now is basically looking at how many maintenance contract holders you have. So we're kind of flipping it on its head, and we understand the value to the business in doing it. I just don't understand the value to the consumer necessarily in doing it. And so, anyways, this company was running a special. And I believe it was $50 for a tune-up and a free capacitor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So the way that breaks down is a capacitor wholesale cost is roughly a good number is $20. Some are more expensive, some are less. By the way, all of those capacitors basically seem to be coming from China, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. But anyways, they are, it's a $20. So effectively what you're getting with that deal is you're getting a tune-up for $30.
Yeah.
That's a great value.
Yeah.
That's a great value to the consumer.
Yeah. And we just shot a bunch of content for the tune-ups with Luis here, and went through and did a fall tune-up, spring tune-up, change a capacitor, contactor, Nest thermostat change out. So we've got some of those videos coming out. And as you're going through it, you're kind of like, we're shooting it all, and I'm like, all right, what's next? He's like, oh, that's really all you need to do. I'm like, oh, I already do all that.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there'd be something else you need to do in there. It's like, no, it's not, not a whole lot, but sometimes for a lot of people, they can't get into the attic. They can't, maybe they physically cannot perform the maintenance, or they, a lot of people just don't want to do stuff themselves. Yeah. Right. So, and that's okay. Right. But you use the companies for that. But like you said, if you're kind of a DIYer to some extent, very manageable on your own.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think we recommend, that people ask us, do you do maintenance contracts? And we say, no. Yeah. Like none of our platforms do that. And that's just a decision that we made. And do we know that we're, not creating the most value for the company? Sure. But we also are putting the consumer at the end and saying what's right by the consumer. And so what I do personally for my house, and I don't know if you're in the same boat, I just signed up for a subscription to Amazon. And I know that's crazy because there's other filter subscriptions, but I just sign up and they send me my filters every 3 months. And I just, when they come in, I know to change them. I go up there, flip them out, and I'm good to go. And I keep it that simple. So I don't know.
I always wash the condenser down, change out the, filters and that sort of stuff. I do not clean the, from the maintenance video, I do not do the drain cleaning.
Yeah. Fair.
So I need to do that. There's some stuff you can do there.
Yeah.
Which we, we'll get into, we can talk about in those videos, but
yeah. So the reason that people run these maintenance calls most often, especially at huge discounts, there's two philosophies here, in my opinion. The first philosophy is that you have latent tech time, and any amount of money is better than no amount of money. So there are companies out here that run ads all the time, huge company, and they say, we can't afford to send a tech out to your home for that price, and neither can they, so don't do it. Right? You see it all the time. Yeah. Well, the reality of it is sometimes you can, because you're really trying to just cover cost. You're not, and not even cost. You're trying to limit the amount of burn that you have for someone during that time. So along that train of thought, it makes sense sometimes, because $30 is better than zero. And if you're trying to keep people employed, even if they cost $40 an hour, your net loss is 10 versus 40.
Yeah. And so, air conditioning seasonal. So you've got to be, that's typically why they're doing it in the shoulder seasons, right? Because you've got to fill those employees' times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one train of thought. The other train of thought, and this is where that company promoting that message is right, is that they use it for a lead generation.
Yeah.
Right. And I hate that like bait and switch type methodology occurs, but unfortunately that is more common than it's not. And so in this scenario, here's
one last one.
Yeah.
It's required by your third-party warranty company.
And they have no way of tracking that.
There's no way to really track that, but that's another one, reason why a lot of these companies will say that you have to have it. But
I mean, we could go down a rabbit hole on that.
We're going, I would mention it because we're going to get into it.
Well, I think we talked last time about financing your, and this is from a contractor standpoint, how crazy it is, financing your maintenance contracts into an installation price. Like we started seeing from JB Warranties, these options where you can Wells Fargo finance a maintenance contract and a service contract into one. And it was like my mind was just blown by it. I'm like, why in the world would I ever send a maintenance contract over to a warranty company for them to hold my money to then decide to pay me back after I do those maintenance? What if I forget to do maintenance?
Yeah.
Like
what are you getting out of it?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's not subject to insurance regulation or anything like that. So it's like I'm financing a deal that I'm paying interest on as a consumer for you to come out and do this maybe. And then from the contractor standpoint, I'm like, I'm giving a warranty company all this money where they're making investment income on holding my 10 years worth of maintenance contracts. And then it's just,
you just increase your COGS.
It's just silly, but whatever. That's a new creative way, I guess, that they have come up with an option. But anyways, so in this scenario that I shared, man, it was unfortunately not a way of, saving time. Although I believe the consumer elected not to do the suggested work. But boy, they got a long list of suggestions, and of course,
very similar to the one we read off before, right? We've gotten different companies, right?
Different companies.
Okay, different companies, but we had a very similar example where someone had scheduled their maintenance, and we read this off. I can't remember if we did it on a pod or not. I think it was, but at some point we read this off on here, and go through this one.
I mean,
it's pretty wild what they've suggested after a maintenance call.
Yeah, it came handwritten on literally a spiral piece of paper, but it's nuts. They went out for maintenance and the $50 maintenance and the capacitor, and I don't know. In full disclosure, I don't want to sound like I know everything that was said at the job or the communication between the homeowner and the contractor, but ultimately the contractor found a leak.
It's always a leak.
There's a leak. It's always a leak. And so they suggested a new system. And then they suggested new ductwork, and they suggested consolidating from 2 systems to 1 system. And so anyways, they provided some options.
Yep. Let's hear those options.
These options started at $57,142.
Is that they get a car?
They're getting a new house. No.
That's a true truck.
That is the scope of work is legitimately doing away with 2 systems and consolidating down to 1 new high efficiency system, redoing ductwork, and then offering long-term labor warranties and long-term maintenance plans. I can only assume that they're using JB. I don't know why they would do that unless they're escrowing those themselves.
There's no telling, but I can't imagine paying for a $50 maintenance deal, and then someone saying, "Hey, by the way, here's our premium option for you for your leak, $57,000."
That's one system they're putting in.
Yeah. Oh.
That's one system. Now there is additional work that's going on. It includes a new
duct work and all that. You said
yeah. It's redoing quite a bit of duct work, but like we've done full duct work jobs and frankly even on the new construction stuff. We know that like an entire complete new like ductwork inside a system, very different new construction. But on retrofit, you're talking about maybe $1,800 to $2,500 of cost in ductwork, and then the labor to do it, and it's generally done within a day or two. Like, $57,000 is a lot of
that's a lot
coin. So start at $57,000, rolled down kind of $43,000. The only thing I noticed that's different between those estimates from 57 to 43 is that they did change from a high efficiency system to a single stage system, so a little bit lower SEER system, and they reduced the warranties from 12 to 10 years.
All right.
There
so
was
50, 57, 43.
57, 43, 36,000 for the economy option, which again, the only difference there is that they actually knocked the warranty and maintenance down from 10 years to 5 years. And then the basic there's a lot of options. Another option for 32, again, it's just warranty. It's just warranty reduction and combining the ductwork. So rather than rerunning ductwork, they're combining it. It goes down as low as $9,700 to just replace the existing system, which is not a bad price for that. Comes with 1 year warranty, but less than $10,000 for just changing out a system.
Yeah.
Or less than $10,000, $9,725. Not bad. And then there's a repair option, and the repair option was not written nearly as specifically as the system options. Those options, kind of hilariously to me, when you start dealing with $57,000, it's funny that they get it down to the dollar amount, $57,142, as a specific number, $43,785. Like, I don't know how you get to that specific number.
My father-in-law always says, don't ever just give a flat number. Always make up something random, because people will go, well, they must know what they're talking about.
Well, they did all that on those huge ticket items, but then they get to the repair and it's approximately $3,000 to $5,000. So it's just goofy, and I hate a lot of this because again, it's the whole problem with the industry where there's not transparency. There's all this variability to it, even though the fixed costs are relatively the same, and so it's I don't know. It was. I guess it was kind of expected. I thought this is what would come as a result of it. I didn't expect it to be so all over the board.
That's pretty wild.
It's a big change.
Well, and it kind of goes into what we want to talk about with that, and what we've been talking about with tariffs and price increases and stuff, is that, listen, as a contractor, if you're watching this, there's ways to. Everybody's out working to make money. You have a business. You've got to pay for the business. You've got employees, trucks, fuel, all that sort of stuff, overhead, and you've got to make money. So, of course, there's ways that you can do things to make money. Going out and doing a $50 maintenance call, and then throwing out a quote for starting at $57,000, working your way all the way down to $9,000 sounded like for a new system. It just seems a little bit crazy. There's other ways to do it, and I think we are big proponents of, obviously, try to do things right by the customer first and foremost. And that will translate into your business success and growth. And, one of the programs that we've just recently kind of come out with, I think we've talked about it on a previous episode, like one previous episode, because it's fairly new, is our DIY warranty program, but which we'll talk about in a second. But, as you're thinking about doing things right by the customer, there's ways to improve your unit economics, which is your costs, your expenses, all that sort of stuff that go into every job you do, without having to do some crazy markup, right? Without having to do something wild like that. Because ultimately, like, as a customer, when you get that, you're like, anybody with a brain's going to say, geez almighty, that's like two different ends of the spectrum. And how do I know? Like, I see leak, but then, like, what's real, what's not real? Like, that just seems crazy. So what we try to encourage to the folks that we work with is improve upon your costs. And that's really what Caddie does in general. That was kind of, that's our thesis, so to speak, or whatever, is that we want to help contractors improve in that middle P&L, improve in your costs, and put programs in place like our DIY Workmanship Guarantee program. Instead of adding those warranties in there, do your own program, turn it into an asset. We can talk more about that, but don't just go out with some crazy big number on the top end trying to make money. When you need to be more efficient in the middle of the P&L. You need to be more efficient and, everything else you have in there. If you're, you said 53,000 down to, or 57,000 down to 43,000. And one of the things that was different was the warranty. Well, okay, how much are they putting aside for this warranty?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's what we would encourage people most is go look at what you're putting into each job and figure out how you can be more efficient on your cost side.
Yeah.
Whether it's the warranty, whether it's your parts, whether it's your labor, whatever it may be, before you just go ahead and say, oh, well, let's just tack on
because
$40,000.
Well, and one of the metrics that we used to track very closely at Fix was the LTV, and I'm sure that most of the contractors or business owners have heard that term. But for those that haven't, it's the lifetime value of the customer, and I think so often that we see contractors approach their business as if every installation is that one shot with a customer, and after that it's done. And so these private equity groups are looking at maintenance contracts and things like that because they're trying to get a sense of what type of repeat business is here. Yeah, and I think that what's happened with some of these bigger companies is they run these crazy huge ad budgets and they get your attention. You resonate with their brand. They come out, they give you a price that's crazy generally, and sometimes it works, which is why they do it, and their model is sustainable. But they often only get that one swing at the customer. And at Fixed, we looked at it long term. Like, what is this customer going to provide to us over 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? And I think there's a lot of companies that are doing some really smart stuff with diversifying into various trades underneath their companies. Yep. I see obviously it's gone on forever, but air conditioning companies become plumbing companies become air conditioning companies.
You need electricians.
At Fixed we had, I think, garage, pool and spa. We had all these entities underneath
Locksmith.
Locksmith, yeah. But it was because we were approaching it different, where we can make on the unit economic basis more per job because the LTV of the customer was much more. We were getting other services out of them, and so ultimately that relationship that we were building, became more lucrative over time, and we had measurable repeat business. Yep. So I wish that others would take that philosophy in their business, and that's what Caddie tries to do. Is we don't like seeing contractors, like there was one that was promoting this video about how he only made like 9% or 10% net margin. We don't like them running inefficient businesses where they're having to either have incredibly high customer acquisition costs because it's that one shot deal, and there's no repeat there. So customer acquisition cost gets out of whack, or two, they run an inefficient business. Right? Like either their marketing is too high, their warranties, which is a huge thing we keep hammering on, because what people don't realize, and the reason we're so honed in on warranties, outside of some of the spite with, the stuff that's gone on with JB warranties, is that it's a huge line item in that cost of goods sold. Yeah. Right? Like you can buy a furnace for, $800. You can buy a coil for $500. You're buying a warranty for $700 as a contractor. Yeah. Or $600 or whatever. It's a huge line item.
For anywhere between $450 or something like that and $700, depending on your labor rate and what you're doing. That's a huge ticket, or a huge part of your ticket cost. Yeah.
So be aware of it. Like, we can't, at this point, I'm going to say at this point, we can't go impact your cost on your equipment too much, right? Outside of some of the things that we've set up here in Dallas. We can't help you tremendously there, although I would encourage you to send us some of your pricing if you have it, and let us look at it and tell you if you're in line with the market. Yeah. But we can't help tremendously there yet, as well as we would on the cost of goods sold, but we can help on the warranty side. Big time, right? And so that's the thing, is we ultimately, again, putting consumer first. We want the consumer to win, and we want the contractors to run efficient businesses, because if a contractor runs an efficient business and the consumer gets a lower price, and there's like a whole repeat customer cycle in that, then everyone wins. And that's ultimately what we're pushing towards. And whether it's us that someone uses with one of our companies, whether it's one of our partner companies that they use, that's the end goal. And so we've seen it over and over. I think, going back to that conversation this morning, I heard that one of the largest air conditioning companies in Phoenix just laid off 30% of their install network.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Because this one-shot crazy high-ticket thing isn't working anymore as well as it would. So our thesis on price transparency going out in the market, I believe it's playing out, and it's playing out in a very rapid way, where consumers, and you can speak to this because you run all of our digital marketing, they go and they see these $57,000 quotes and these $43,000 quotes. Mm-hmm. And what they hear, in my opinion, is, I need a new system.
Yeah.
So they take that bid, they go and they start searching. Hey, I know I need a 4-ton system. And then SEO does its thing.
Yeah.
And they end up on sites where they can start seeing this pricing.
Yep.
And I encourage contractors to continue with that movement, because pricing transparency is everything, and it's coming quick, and contractors need to be prepared for that. And that's where Caddie gets very valuable.
Yeah. And that's where, as a contractor, you get more efficient by doing things like our DIY program. And your company becomes more sustainable.
Yep.
You can invest more in your company. There's things like that are very new products, right?
Yep.
You talk about it all the time in the auto space, how they're relying on F&I products to grow their business, because nowadays you can look at Kelley Blue Book, you can look at online Auto Trader, Cars.com, Carvana, and see how much that Toyota Corolla costs. Like, it's there, right?
Yep.
The same thing's happening in the air conditioning space, and contractors need to be ready for it. And that's why we're doing products like DIY Workmanship Guarantee, because in a traditional model, a contractor goes out, like we said, and is going to pay, let's just say it's $450, right? Even go low, $500, whatever it is for that warranty. Now you've got a $500 warranty cost in your new system, per system, to that homeowner for that 10-year parts and labor policy or 10-year labor policy. That, like you said, is just about the same cost as a furnace or air handler, right?
Yeah.
And so
at least
now,
coil.
Coil, yeah. And so now you're looking at, a huge part of your ticket is in the warranty. Well, when you pay that money over to the third-party company, that money sits with them. They make the interest on it.
Yep.
They get to utilize that to grow their business.
They get to buy ranches.
They buy the ranches.
Yeah, they put Longhorns on there. Like, that's with that is with the contractor's money.
Yeah. So they're taking your money and they're making the money on it. So what we've done is we've taken our warranty software and when we launched Caddie, we came up with a product that we thought was better than the standard warranty, which was...
It is better.
It is better. But it's a performance-based pricing where you're not just paying one cost, the same cost as the Florida guys or whatever. You're paying the price that you should be paying for your policy based on your company's performance. And so we call that the performance-based pricing. And we only tacked on a small, like 18% on top of that to run administration and all that sort of stuff. So not marking it up by 50% or whatever it is. But now, as we've gone through, I guess maybe a year and a half, 2 years at this point of doing that program, and as we look at like what we would want to do in the marketplace, again, we always kind of look at like what we would do for our own companies. So we said, okay, let's just open the software up for these guys to do their own workmanship guarantees. If you go look at the state's regulations, if you install the equipment, you can offer your own workmanship guarantee. You're the installer of that equipment. And so now we're giving contractors the ability to literally, it's the same process that they're doing right now with third-party companies or even on our platform, where you're going to enter in the agreement. Our platform is going to give you the suggested amount that you should put away in reserve. You put in how much you're going to put away in reserve, like how much you want to put away, because you can put away more. We can get into that stuff down the road. But and then it tracks it. The software tracks it for you. It tells you, you process your own claims. You're going to adjust your own claims. The software is all very straightforward. We've opened it up. And so it's the same tools that we use and any other warranty company uses to manage a warranty program. And we've opened it up and given contractors the reporting to manage their own workmanship guarantees. So now think about it as a contractor, you've got to realize that $500 we talked about is now going into your own bank account.
Yep.
And as that builds up, and you can go to our website and look, as that compounds over time with interest, now you can utilize that to buy more trucks, add more employees, grow your business, whatever you need to do, you can leverage that. Whereas if you're buying a third-party warranty, you're literally just giving that money to somebody else.
Yep.
And
then asking,
you may not get it in a claim.
That's right. Yeah, I keep talking with Nick about this. It's interesting because what happens when the average homeowner stays in a house for 7 years?
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if it's 6 or 8, but it used to be 7. We quoted all the time. It was around 7.
It's probably close.
These contracts are 10-year term contracts. And yes, they're transferable, and I'm saying that quote, but what really happens is there's so much breakage. There's so much fall off. And when that happens, What happens to the remaining 3 years of that contract? That is cash money for the warranty company.
Yep.
Right? And that should be the contractors. And our whole philosophy with Caddie was that it's built by contractors for contractors.
Yep.
And I can assure you that at the level of these third-party warranty companies, take JB Warranties, I don't know of a single one of them that has run a big service company.
No.
There's nothing. There's not an employee over there that has any experience running a service company at all. And if they did, there's certainly not one at any size that has had to deal with any of these actual issues. And so I don't know that they're even in touch with how important that cash is to that contractor's business. And to your point, it's fundamentally what we did is we've always said, excuse me, what is the right product for the end user, whether it's the contractor or the consumer? And we built this product in a way that as a contractor, this is what we would want, this is what we use, and this is how it should roll. And this DIY workmanship guarantee module that we're offering does exactly that.
Yeah.
We ran a test case for a new contractor we brought on last week where we figured out that they were buying roughly $200,000 a year in third-party warranties.
I think
$300,000. And I'm gonna be off here, but just as illustrative view, this is what.
Which by the way, you actually went lower. Usually you go higher.
I know. That's unlike me. But no. So what we figured out is that if you start looking at the actual margin that is, we ran a whole analysis on it. The margin that goes into the warranty company on this, and the interest that is made on the reserve, because these are long-term contracts generally. Like in these quotes, they're 5 years, they're 10 years, they're 12 years. That money sits in reserve accounts at the warranty company when it should be sitting at the contractor's company for 10 years. 10 years of 8%, 10% compounded interest is a lot of money. And so I think we figured out that like the net cash flow to the contractor was over $2 million for that one contractor on just those contracts over 10 years. Over 10 years,
yeah. The swing was basically a $2 million swing from a cost that was going out for the million some odd dollars in warranties over 10 years.
Yeah.
To then putting the $1 million in their bank account.
Yeah.
And then plus the interest. So it actually, what goes in their bank account was like 1.2 or something over time.
Yeah.
And then what they send away was like 998 or something like that. Because the other one's compounding interest that they get. So it's pretty wild. And when you go to the website, caddiewarranty.com, we just updated it so you can see this case study on there. Yeah. But it's basically like at the end of 10 years, it's pretty straightforward. If you buy a third party, zero. You got zero in a bank account to your name, right? If you use the DIY workmanship guarantee, you've got $1 million, whatever, depending on how your claims. Now, the example on our website we did does not include the claims because the claims can be so variable. So we're just, we just want to show contractors and get them to start thinking about the fact that, listen, put this money aside for yourself and for your business. Yeah. And that's just the start of it. There's all sorts of strategies as we work with these guys, the tax treatments and everything that we're going to get into with them. But at a high level, it's pretty amazing. And it was funny because when we did the initial call with that contractor about it, I wish we would have recorded it. And I keep saying that because it was literally what they were saying was word for word, like our presentation, like how you would want to pitch it, right? Like if we were to put some ads out there, it's like literally what you would want to say. He said,
I spend all of this every year with them and I have zero claims. Where is this money going? I sure wish it was in my company.
Yeah.
And we said, isn't it wild that you send it over there and then you have to beg for it back in the form of a claim? And it's very easy to offer good customer service. Let me say that because what I do hear is that the customer service is really good. Yeah. Like with our competitors. Yeah. And kudos to them for doing that. And, kudos to us for being a part of building that. But nonetheless, it's very easy when you're making all of that money. I mean, that's one contractor with, a couple $100,000, at least $100,000 of gross profit to the warranty company every year, setting aside the investment income from the reserve that's sitting there. Yeah. Of course, it's easy to offer, good service in that regard. And so, I think that you've got to look at yourself as a contractor going, I want to provide, first of all, do I align with the Caddie guys' vision? Hopefully you do. Yeah. And if not, that's okay. But if you do, and you want to provide the best value to the customer while running a profitable business, this is one of the things you have to look at. Yeah. You've got to go, okay, I see all this stuff going on. I see, executives buying multiple or owners or whatever the structures are buying, handfuls of lake houses and Mexico houses and ranches and all this stuff. Well, how are they doing that? Yeah. How are they affording to provide this? How do they have 50 sales reps on the ground? That's why we're doing this. our intention isn't to go put 50 sales reps on the ground to compete with us, because that's, to us, not the way we want to market. We want to tell the story from here and help you from here in a more efficient way, because everything that we do about how we approach our businesses is to provide a more effective and more efficient solution.
Yep.
So,
yeah, and it's and we've, again, goes back to the same. We talk about the price gouging with the $50 maintenance call or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, we're pricing this product. It's been changing a little bit, but we've because as you launch something, just like we talked about, you got to kind of find that sweet spot. But you know, it's less than the cost of one warranty per month, right? Well, and so you got to think about, as a contractor, it's like, okay, well, I can pay, you know, $300 a month for a software subscription, or I can spend $300,000 a year on a warranty that you get nothing back. And the last thing I'll say on it is also, you know, the whole spiel with warranties in general is that you're locking the customer in for the 10 years or the 5 years. So that way you can get a new install, or that the private equity companies that are rolling up these contractors, you know, they want those customer bases, which they do, right? Yeah. But do you really own that customer? The answer is no. The agreement is between the warranty company, the underwriter, the obligor, and the customer. You are selling someone else's paper, insurance. You're basically a broker at that point.
You are.
To the homeowner, and you don't own it. So with the workmanship guarantee, now you actually own your customer. There is no, we're not giving you a contract that says that our underwriter owns it, which, by the way, if you are not comfortable with it, you can certainly use an underwriter. We have that option too. But, you know, we would encourage you to think about, you know,
who owns the customer?
Who owns the customer? So now you don't own the customer. You don't have any money in reserve after 10 years. What are you really getting out of it? And that's why I think so many contractors, when we were going out and selling, and when we, you know, with the feedback we've been hearing is it's always kind of, I'd say it's not 50-50, but there's a large majority that are like, no, we just kind of like do our own in-house, or we offer our own, which is great. If you're already doing it, great. Use our software and make sure you're doing it the right way. We'll give you the exact cost. It's all right there in front of you.
Yeah, be educated. And to your, you know, I love that you brought that up, because we've lived this world on all sides. We've created a warranty company, one that's still big in market. We were like employees 2 and 3 at. We've had our pitch. We've met with thousands of contractors. I think when we exited the business, it had, you know, many thousand contractors on the platform. We've also lived the other side, where we got sideways with the warranty company, and we requested, can we go transfer our warranties to another warranty provider? And that's where we learned the hard real lesson. Is you're told one thing from a salesperson, and I hope contractors listen to this. You're told one thing: lock your customers in there. You're a customer for life. Blah 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 blah. You're the guy. But then when you go and you ask to transfer your contracts to a different warranty company, in our experience, what happened was that warranty company, which has great customer service, contacted all of our customers, warranty holders, and transferred those contracts to another contractor in market. I think they transferred hundreds of them.
At that I can't remember how many we had, but it was a lot.
So
they just sent them off to someone else.
They literally did. So when you hear that it's your customer, and even the private equity guys listening to this, pay attention. If a company you're buying has third-party contracts on there, look into the contract. Like, do your due diligence on this stuff when you're acquiring a company, and see who owns those customers. Because you don't want to go buy a company that you're expecting to have 1,000 customers that you're onboarding, when in reality, those are not your customers. They can go anywhere else.
It's not the company you're buying. They don't own them.
It happened to us. We know it. Like, we've lived it. Let us go through the battle, you know, and learn from that. But that's what's happened. So this is by far and away the best solution. And then to your point on trying to figure out the pricing of this thing, I will very, you know, transparently tell you that what we're not struggling, but what we're trying to decide was we've started partnering with distributors. We think that the distributors and their TMs, there's a lot of value in that they have those local relationships with contractors. And we know we get bombarded with, I don't know what, 20 emails a day of someone trying to hawk some service, whether it's, I feel like it's generally marketing companies, but
I get a lot of marketing and a lot of like bidding company. Like
I get a lot of like, hey, does your company need capital? We're here for like that kind of stuff. So we just get bombarded by those, and we all, you know, especially to the general inboxes, we're going through and we're marking them as spam and sending them. We don't read them. We don't spend any time with them. That is very common, and I think it happens all the time. that's where the TM that has, the ability to do a little bit of vetting, or their companies have the ability to do vetting and then help bring a product to market, have a lot of value. So we've brought on a couple new distribution partners. Some of them that we actually started with at our time at JB, where we're just going back to that base now and starting to pull those distributors, and they're seeing this and going, well, yeah, that's a no-brainer. It makes a ton of sense. To those contractors out there, the way that these arrangements work, because we're in the business of being transparent, is that oftentimes, like with a third-party warranty company that partners with the distributor, they're getting a rev share. And I don't know if contractors know that, but these distribution relationships, what happens is they introduce, take like a JB Warranty or an AIG or whoever, and I can't speak to AIG because I have no idea how that works there. But they will go to a distributor and they'll say, hey, we'll give you 5% or 10% or 15% or whatever of these warranty costs, and that's what you'll earn every month. The distributor should be compensated something.
Yeah, they've got to run. I was going to say, they've got business to run, and that's kind of, if you think about it, that's their job. They are working with contractors and bringing them solutions and selling them parts and equipment and supplies and all that, but also other products. And so they've got to pay their salespeople, and that's understood.
Yeah, and so we are creating pricing that very similar to what we did with our time at the other warranty company. We are working on pricing structures that allow the distributor to be, cut into that mix, albeit at a much, much smaller gross dollar value.
A monthly rate, not a per contract rate, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, so we just get alignment. It helps us to get more alignment, right? Like we want that distributor to look out for the best interest of their contractor, provide them the best tool, and even though they may not be getting 10 or 15% of a $600 contract, and they may be getting $50 a month, period, per contractor, it's a better tool. And what we're finding in these distribution contracts or conversations is that a lot of these distributors, they care about selling equipment and supplies, and they care about building a customer that is loyal to them, that runs a good business. Right. And so I've been very I guess it's been refreshing to see their take isn't about making that 10 or 15%. Their take is, how do I give the best tools to my customer? So if you're a distributor listening to this, we have the best solution. We have what the contractors need. We are creating a way to have you involved with this from a financial perspective, but it's not going to be, at 10% of every contract sold.
Yeah, because that's just not what's best for everybody involved.
It's not.
Yeah. And it's also, we've got options that we've had conversations with where the distributor can just include it. A lot of them have dealer programs where the dealers are buying in on a monthly basis or annual basis to the dealer program to get certain rebates or benefits and stuff like that. This fits in great with that as well. Yeah. And so we've had some of those conversations, which is nice, because I think when we initially took it out, we were wondering if that was, where their minds were going to be at. And so it's been positive. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're a distributor looking to partner with Caddie for our warranty product, we are here, open for conversations. Hope to have those with all of them. Contractors, keep paying attention, please, to what's going on. And then the last thing to just hammer home on, I think I'm going to try to say this in about every podcast or every message, is be educated. Go to your warranty company and go request your performance. Yeah. Go request your performance. The DIY program is not for everyone.
Right.
It's not for everyone. There are contractors that cost far in excess of what they're reserving. Yeah. And the guys that do good work subsidize those guys' business. Those guys need to stay with the third-party companies. Yeah. Right? They need to stay with them. The more highly productive contractors we bring onto our platform, it leaves the bad-performing guys on the others. Yeah. And those costs will go up, but that's appropriate because that's what they cost.
Yeah. And you said this the other day, and I loved it. If you're not comfortable with it or you're not sure, obviously we're here to Caddie for you. We're going to make sure that you're comfortable with it. But you can use our software in addition to what you're doing now. If you're not fully bought in or fully comfortable, give it a year or a season, so to speak, and then look at it. I don't know why you would continue to throw your money away, but listen, if it's a comfort thing, sure. Yeah. Use our software.
Get educated.
Get educated on it. It's going to tell you exactly at the end of the year, okay, here's your claims. Yep. Here's your reserve. You subtract them out, do the math, and that's what you've got left over. Yeah. And it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. I'm just going to drive that home because it's a great point. use both for a second.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Use both. Like if you want to use AIG or JBA or Cool Care or whatever, and they will not give you your performance report to make you comfortable with where you're at, use both and run them alongside one another and see what your costs actually are.
Yeah.
Just being educated. That's all we're here to do is help you get educated, make the best business decision you can so you can provide the best solution to your customers and run a healthy business.
Yep.
That's it.
All right. Well, we're up against the old clock for this week.
Yeah.
But
that was
a good one. Excited. Like we said, next week we're going to be doing a little restaurant pod. So switching it up on everybody. But hope everybody has a good weekend. Most of you are on spring breaks. Probably everybody getting ready for, if you're in the HVAC world and you're listening to this one, getting ready for season. It's coming up. So
this week has gotten busy.
Get you a little relaxation, I guess, if you can before it starts. Because
that's right.
Now we start, right? Now we get going.
The corner.
Yeah.
Everyone have a great weekend.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Bye.